Time now for your forecast first. WRBL News 3 First Alert Weather.
Nothing but blue skies, and I bet you another beautiful sunset like what we had yesterday. We have a lot of sunshine coming back in this First Alert forecast with comfortable upper 60s by your Thursday morning. Then we're advertising some low to mid 90s. Oh boy, here comes the heat in the First Alert forecast. But for the rest of tonight, that sun setting for the Phoenix City Amphitheater camera about 90, and we'll see those temperatures about 82, about 10, 9 central. And then in the overnight, 75 by midnight. So stay with us, folks. We got a hot forecast, but then we may see some showers. I'll show you when coming up. The news starts now.
On your side, this is News 3 First Edition.
A shooting at a Columbus apartment leaves one man wounded. I'm News 3's Ashley Garrett, and I'll tell you where police are now with this case in a live report coming up.
This afternoon, a Troup County suspect is dead. Authorities say the man tried to use a fake 911 call to lure law enforcement officers.
We're talking clean energy in Columbus. I'll tell you how businesses and organizations in the valley are leading the way in sustainable energy. That's just ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. We thank you for trusting News 3. I'm Phil Scoggins. In Columbus, another shooting investigation now underway after a man is shot at the Elizabeth Candy Apartments. News 3's Ashley Garrett is there. Ashley, where are police now with this investigation?
According to the Columbus Police Department, Phil, that shooting happened last night just before 10 o'clock. They say a 19-year-old man by the name of Tobias Ross was shot in the right arm. Now, let's go to video now as I bring you up to speed with this investigation. CPD says the victim's injuries appear to be non-life-threatening at this time. They say the shooting happened at apartment 105A. Tonight, residents of E. Candy say last night's shooting has them on edge.
This is like a community with a lot of kids, so my concern is not so much for myself, is that kids laugh and play and run in the playground, and whether it's daytime or nighttime, kids are subject to be hurt. If you shoot at somebody else, you could mistake and hit a kid, or anybody, because bullets don't have a name on them.
And back out here live now. Coming up on the news at 6, we'll hear police explain some E. Candy crime stats. They'll explain why exactly they frequent this area. For now, though, I'll send things back to you in the studio live in Columbus and on your side. I'm Ashley Garrett for WRBL News 3.
Thanks so much, Ashley, for that live report. On the Crime Watch this afternoon, a local tax preparer has been sentenced to 36 months in federal prison in a tax fraud scheme. Crime investigators from the U.S. Treasury Department say defendant Shade Bakari filed tax returns under stolen identities and then cashed the tax return checks. Bakari has pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit theft of public money, wire fraud, and identity theft. Officials say she filed at least 39 false federal tax returns with stolen identities, adding up to $52,000. Officials say the IRS was able to stop most of those refunds and only paid out $5,900. Demisha Mitchell of Phoenix City and George Rowell and Danielle Wallace of Columbus also received prison sentences in connection with this scheme. A death investigation is underway in Marion County. GBI officials tell News 3 73-year-old William Shoemaker and 40-year-old Christina Shoemaker were both found dead at Finch Place in Box Springs. Their bodies were discovered Tuesday just before noon. Right now, officials have not released the cause of death. Both have been sent to the state crime lab for an autopsy. Making news this afternoon, sustainable, resilient, and clean energy in Georgia, saving businesses money. News 3's Jolyn Adams joining us now with more from the Clean Energy Roadshow and how environmentally friendly energy is saving you some green. Jolyn.
Hi, Phil. The Clean Energy Roadshow highlights all alternative energy choices and fuels and encourages businesses and organizations to make a switch. Electric, propane, and even solar energy, just to name a few, are ways Georgia is diversifying energy sources throughout the state. This is according to Public Service Commissioner Tim Eccles. And with the push toward more green vehicles, Eccles says the Muskogee County Sheriff's Office fleet is already running on natural gas.
It's saving the Sheriff's Department a lot of money, which really ultimately goes back to the taxpayers here in Muskogee County.
And then the cost and the projections, because there's such an unlimited supply, they believe right now there's over 100 years of supply that's already been identified. It just makes it where it's not so impacted by some of the same factors that you'll see on gasoline and diesel, which are impacted by world oil prices.
This is the Clean Energy Roadshow's 8th year, and Liberty Utilities hosts the event. And coming up at 6, we'll hear more from Public Service Commissioner Tim Echols and how Columbus is leading the way, providing clean, renewable energy. Back to you, Phil.
All right, thanks, Jesselyn. Georgia Secretary of State Brian Kemp is pushing to replace the state's voting machines after the legislature did not take action on that issue. Kemp's office established the Secure, Accessible, and Fair Elections Commission back in April to study a replacement for Georgia's current electronic touchscreen voting system. The group will meet for the first time June 13th and will review options including touchscreens that print paper ballots, as well as ballots marked by hand with pen. Transparency advocates say that Georgia's current system lacks a verifiable paper trail that can be audited if any questions or irregularities arise. Across America today, President Donald Trump has issued another presidential pardon. The president commuted the sentence of Alice Marie Johnson. Johnson, a great-grandmother, is a first-time nonviolent drug offender. President Trump made that decision to commute Johnson's sentence after meeting with reality TV personality Kim Kardashian West, who pleaded Johnson's case to the president. Johnson has already served 21 years of a life sentence after she was convicted on charges of conspiracy to possess cocaine, among others. Johnson is expected to be released from prison soon. The Secret Service has arrested a contractor at the White House on an attempted first-degree murder charge. Officials say Martise Edwards was reporting to work on Tuesday when agents took him into custody. Authorities did not release specific details about the charge against Edwards, except that it was out of Prince George's County in Maryland. A person familiar with the matter said Edwards was working for the National Security Council. It's not yet clear in what capacity he was working. The person said that Edwards' badge access was only to the Eisenhower Executive Office building, not the West Wing, where the president's offices are located. Making news around the world, today marks the 74th anniversary of World War II's pivotal D-Day invasion. On June 6, 1944, Allied forces stormed the beaches at Normandy to push into Europe in a turning point against Nazi troops. Historians have called D-Day the beginning of the end of the war. Europe had been at war for nearly half a decade, with the U.S. in the fight for 2.5 years. The war would continue for another year. D-Day remains the largest amphibious invasion in history. Upwards of 160,000 troops invaded Europe, more than half of those Americans. It is estimated that roughly 10,000 Allied troops were killed, wounded, or missing in action on just one day. Still ahead, sad news for food lovers. IHOP is going away. Hey, wait a minute, but the food is not. We're going to explain all that. Also, later on in our Health Watch report, concerns mounting over funding for Medicare and Social Security programs in the U.S. Always, the best way you can stay connected with us right here at WRBL. Like and follow us on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram with the latest breaking news, sports, and weather. Bob?
Phil, I'm telling you, this is beautiful. A Chamber of Commerce picture, if you will. We're seeing a lot of blue skies today. And the heat is going up, but look at the humidity. Not too bad right now. In fact, we can tolerate this. But there are some more humid days coming up in that 7-day forecast, which will lead to rain. I'll show you coming up.
One man is dead after an officer-involved shooting in Troup County. News 3's Michaela Singleton joining us from the scene on Lower Big Springs Road, where the suspect reportedly lured deputies using a fake 911 call. Michaela.
Phil, just across from me is the home where Roger Dale Sims called 911 claiming he had shot his wife. However, his wife wasn't here. She, in fact, had not been here for more than 14 months when she actually died more than 14 months ago, again, in a car accident in which Sims was the driver. Now, officers and deputies responded to this home around 2:13 a.m. where they found Sims standing on his porch with a gun in each hand. Troup County Sheriff James Woodruff tells me that when deputies and police officers ordered him to put those guns down, he instead fired them into the ground. Still, law enforcement did not fire on Sims. They ordered for him several more times to surrender and drop his guns. It wasn't until Sims pointed one of them at a deputy that Sheriff Woodruff says they were forced to take action.
Had he started shooting at the deputies, bullets could have ended up anywhere, and other people could have been hurt, including our officers. We're very thankful that our officers were not injured in this incident. And I do want to say that I believe they did everything they could possibly do to get him to surrender, and they were trained to act the way they did and take the action that they took, and I completely stand behind them.
Now, the GBI was in charge of the investigation. They continue to look into this, as is procedure. Now, agents were here on the scene collecting evidence until around 3 p.m. this afternoon, and Sheriff Woodruff tells me that the four of his deputies that were here on the scene and responded to this incident, they have all been placed on administrative leave, but that is, again, just protocol. And now coming up at 6, we will have more for you on this developing story, including what Sheriff Woodruff says could have been a possible motive, as well as reaction from neighbors. Live and on your side in Troup County, Michaela Singleton, WRBL News 3.
All right, thanks for that live report, Michaela.
Now, News 3 brings you your first alert forecast.
The heat is on. Here we go. And we are looking at those temperatures now, flirting in the 90-degree range at this hour. We've already seen that earlier. Right up where Michaela was up in LaGrange, of course, the automatic sensory observation station is certainly just decided to take a little break from the heat. So we're looking at readings that were close to 90 there. We're 90 and you fall at this hour, 89 from Opelika to Phoenix City. So what are we looking at coming up? We're looking at 67 in the morning, comfortable, cooler temperatures, and then we heat up rapidly by midday. Lots of sunshine, sunblock we're slathering on, back to the wide brim hats, 86 degrees. But here is the nice little part of the story with this heat, 93. May seem very warm. Sure it is, but we're taking away the humidity thanks to the mid-Atlantic high that's in place. But there is a front that's to the south, and it will lift back up, and it'll open a gate with humidity coming back for the weekend. And that spells some opportunities for some rainfall, but not overwhelming, so that'll be good. Hit 90 so far today. We had a low of 65 degrees this morning. It was beautiful, it was comfortable. And so far only a quarter of an inch for the month of June. Here we are looking at a dry picture for now. We're in that last quarter moon phase here coming up tonight, and we do have those temperatures sliding down in the upper 70s here. This is right before midnight. Early morning, we're looking at those temperatures upper 60s. We'll be about 86 degrees by late morning, and more sunshine coming up in the first alert forecast. Right here is where that dry front just kind of came down yesterday. It brought rain across southern portions of Alabama, the panhandle of Florida, now through central Florida. And that batch of clouds you see here will remain here. But you know what's going to happen, don't you? It's all going to lift back up in our area, and that will increase our chances for maybe a little bit of rainfall. Now, with that morning high clouds, it made for a beautiful sunrise. This was shot by Dave Kerr from Crawford, Alabama this morning. Love to see your pictures tonight, too, if you have any. Now, as far as that raincast model, we're going to hold the rain off. But again, this is nothing like what we had a couple weeks ago, or last week even. We're looking at this area of low pressure kind of spinning across its stalled out front. And here we are on Thursday, and we're still dry, as we're telling you. Let's get into Friday eventually. We're going to end up seeing some of that moisture come back, but not completely just yet. With that little spinning motion, that disturbance, all this kind of lifting back in. And as you can see, the weekend disturbance will only lift in just enough amount of some humid air, and that humid air will lead to maybe just a pop-up shower or storm here or there. There you go. So it's very sporadic and certainly not a washout. But we got to keep in mind there could be lightning out there and storms just fueling up. So our last quarter, moon phase tonight, so clear enough to do a little stargazing is what I'm trying to say. And for your Thursday, pleasant in the morning. And we saw those 60s we had this morning, maybe a degree or two warmer, but very warm in the afternoon. But again, I want to add lower humidity. That's good news. So here we are, drum roll, looking at these lower 90s and some isolated pop-up showers and storms. But again, mainly south and east of Columbus, I'm thinking. I'm going to pinpoint this even more as we get closer. And as you can see, we're backing off on cloud cover for Saturday. Still a very nice day. And Sunday, again, that hit and miss type shower storm. And we're kind of into that summer pattern fill. Checking out the tropics, nothing. Not until mid-June. There could be some activity. We got to keep an eye on that. Still, you know, we're getting into the season now.
I'm just loving this lower humidity.
You're not kidding. Me too.
Got it. All right. Thank you, Bob. In today's Consumer Watch report, all-day breakfast lovers say goodbye to IHOP. The restaurant posted a tweet suggesting it's changing its name to IHOB. So the International House of Pancakes will become the International House of Bacon or biscuits or breakfast. The change is supposed to take place on Monday, but IHOP is being coy about what that B really stands for. The only clue comes from the company's executive director of communications. She said, quote, "We're serious about the quality of food and our menu, and this name change really reflects that." Making news across Alabama this afternoon, the last member of the German rocket team that launched the space program in the U.S. has died. Dr. George von Tiesenhausen passed away in Huntsville, Alabama on Sunday. The scientist worked alongside Werner von Braun to launch the first U.S. satellite and the first U.S. astronauts into space. He also created and designed the famous moon buggy that accompanied the last 3 Apollo missions. In 2011, the rocketry pioneer was presented a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Rocket Center in Huntsville. He was 104 years old. Across Georgia today, Ann Turner Cook, that original Gerber baby from 1928, she's 91 years old, and she just met the most recently selected Gerber baby in person. Gerber arranged for Cook to meet 1-year-old Lucas Warren on Saturday. The little boy from Dalton, Georgia, near my neck of the woods, made history this year as the first baby with Down syndrome to be a Gerber brand ambassador for the year. Cook's iconic baby image became Gerber's official logo back in 1931. In 2010, the company began its annual tradition of taking photo submissions for the next Spokes Baby of the Year. And this year, of course, little Lucas was the winner. When we return, financial trouble ahead for the nation's Medicare and Social Security programs. Stay with us. Come right back. In today's Health Watch report, ever heard of nomophobia? It is a term that's coined recently meaning no mobile phone phobia. With tech addiction on the rise, device manufacturers are trying to implement some features to help users disconnect. Reed Binion has details.
Some apps demand more of our attention than we might even realize.
Apple debuted Screen Time at its Worldwide Developers Conference, a new iPhone feature to help users keep track of their tech usage.
I encourage everyone to look and ask themselves if they're picking up their phone 10 times an hour or 20 times an hour.
And Apple isn't the only developer looking to help people fight tech addiction. In May, Google announced a suite of digital well-being tools for the next version of Android. And Facebook has introduced changes to its news feed, which it claims causes users to spend less time on the site. There are serious ramifications to bad tech habits. A Pew Research study found that nearly half of adults in the U.S. admit to sending or reading texts while driving, and that number increases to 59% for millennials. A Midtown Manhattan pedestrian study found 42% of the people who entered traffic during a don't walk signal were interacting with their device. Tech addiction can also cause poor posture, affecting a person's neck, spine, respiratory functions, and even emotions.
We want people to be incredibly satisfied and empowered by the devices that we ship, but we've never wanted people to spend a lot of time on them.
For today's Health Minute, I'm Reed Binion.
A new report is heightening concerns about the financial future of Medicare. According to the Washington Post, a new Medicare trustees report reveals the Medicare Trust Fund will dry up by 2026. That's 3 years sooner than what was predicted in 2017. That fund pays hospital bills of Medicare recipients. The newspaper says the report, issued by 4 Trump administration officials who are trustees for both Medicare and Social Security, cites policy changes such as the new GOP tax law as the reason. That's because, according to the report, the government will collect less in income taxes, meaning less money will flow into the Medicare Trust Fund. We'll have a final check of your forecast when we come back. First, though, let's take a look at what's coming up later tonight right here on WRBL. Okay,
hey, we're back now. Hey, and I'm texting. Remember that story you just did?
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with my cell phone.
You were walking in here.
Here, come on. We're putting it down.
Cell phone.
Putting it down. Let's go to a story.
Let's decompress here. Well, finally, here on First Edition, we have a trio of new crew members that are headed to the International Space Station. They're scheduled to arrive on Friday morning, in fact. They're going to be greeted by the 2 American astronauts already on board there, as well as a Russian cosmonaut. The ISS has been continuously occupied Don't look at the screen. How long has it been continuing? Any guess?
Oh, golly. It would have to be early 60s.
Close to 20 years
JFK.
for this
particular one. But I'm saying, for the beginning of the inception, or just now?
Yeah, just for the International Space Station.
International Space Station.
November of 2000, it's been continuously occupied, almost 18 years.
And you can track it in the sky, and a night like tonight, you'd be able to track it as well. Did you know that? Go to nasa.gov.
And you also are able to see beautiful sunsets. I know you had some folks send in some really beautiful pictures last night. Yeah.
You were included, actually.
I was at a traffic light, and
you just went like this with your camera.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it spoke volumes. It was such a beautiful picture. Yeah. It's at WRBL.com right now. I have it on my Twitter account if you want to check it out. And you can check out more stargazing nights coming up here right through Friday, looking fantastic. We're going to increase some chances of rain. We'll talk more about it coming up at 6/5 Central. Also, at WRBL.com. I got it all laid out for you.
You can get back on your cell phone.
I got to go back in here. Something very important to talk about.
For evening, our first edition, we're back on Evening Edition at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.